What's going on, guys? It's your average consumer, and it's embargo day for the S22 lineup. The new Galaxy phones are officially announced, and you probably see a ton of videos in your inbox, but I'm glad you chose this one. But today we are going over the new lineup. We've got the new S22, S22 Plus, and of course the S22 Ultra. But first, we of course got to talk about the way these phones look. S22, S22 Plus share pretty much the same design. One is bigger than the other, while the S22 Ultra has its own design, its own look. And I'm not gonna lie to you guys, based on first impressions, I'm leaning towards the design of the regular S22s. I'm really liking the hard edges on the sides, the flat screen, and honestly, that camera bump is looking kind of nice. I've said it on the channel plenty of times, I'm not a fan of like the curved screens, and I like when a phone has like the hard edges, which is why I was super thrilled when I think the iPhone 12 came out with like that new design with the hard edges. Love it. While the S22 Ultra is really sticking with that curved look. I know some people like it. I'm personally not a fan, so I am leaning towards that. But the S22 Ultra has also gotten rid of that frame that the camera's modules used to live in. I like that. I feel like it made the camera seem like a really big deal. Now I guess Samsung's trying to go with like a more understated look for the cameras, but something about it just looks a little incomplete. So for me personally, I'm really digging the S22, S22 Plus body. S22 Ultra is fine, but what makes up for it are those colors. Well, one in particular, there's a new green color that I think looks amazing on all the devices. I'm a huge fan. Of course, you still got like the Phantom Black, Phantom White, that new green, and there's a burgundy as well that Samsung tends to throw in every now and then. Ooh, Jay, what's better? The green or that Pacific blue from the iPhone 12? That Pacific blue is almost perfect though.
Yes, but this one is leaning more towards teal though.
Regardless, when it comes to color, Samsung's moving in the right direction, I think. Now, before we dig into like some of the features that these phones are gonna be packing, I know you spec heads wanna quickly know what's inside of these phones. Well, we're looking at the Snapdragon 8cx Gen 1 processor, the newest that Snapdragon has to offer. That's coming to the entire lineup, so each phone is gonna be packing that chip. Now, in terms of RAM, for the S22 and S22 Plus, you're seeing 8 gigs of RAM down the board. Now with the S22 Ultra, we're seeing 8 gigs of RAM as well as 12 gig options, depending on the storage capacity. I think for the smallest storage capacity is 8 gigs, and anything higher, you'll have 12 gigs of RAM there. Now, in terms of battery, we're looking at 3,700 for the 22, 4,500 for these 22 Plus, and 5,000 for the 22 Ultra. But let's move on to those displays. Now, we all know that these phones come in different sizes. The S22 has a 6.1 inch display, while the S22 Plus will have a 6.6 inch display, and the Ultra will have a 6.8 inch display. Now, we all know Samsung phones have beautiful displays. They're all packing a dynamic AMOLED 2X display, but they've added a new feature that I think could be pretty nice when you're out in the real world. And they're calling this feature Vision Booster. Now, the idea here is depending on your lighting situation, typically if you're outdoors and direct sunlight is hitting your phone, the content tends to get a little bit washed out. You know, if you don't have a bright display, it gets harder to see the content on your screen. Now with this Vision Booster, it's going to take into account just how much light is hitting your phone, and it's going to be able to adjust the brightness for every single pixel on the screen to adjust so you can have better clarity while watching content. And with a peak brightness of 1750 nits, it could be pretty dramatic. This is a feature I want to take out into the real world during the real day in the life and see just how much of an impact it has. We'll of course compare it to last year's model, but that sounds huge. 1750 nits, that has to be the brightest display on the market right now, right?
I feel like it.
I'm sure there's like some crazy phone out there that where nobody's talking about that goes brighter, but that sounds like the best on the market so far. Now, of course, all of these phones have Samsung's super smooth 120 Hz refresh rate. But what's new here is Samsung has added the ability for it to automatically change depending on how you're using the phone. We've seen these adaptive refresh rates before. If you're familiar with how the iPhone does it, we're gonna be seeing something similar where the phone can drop all the way down from 10 Hertz all the way to 120 if you have the normal S22s. And if you go for the S22 Ultra, it can go all the way down to 1 Hertz, so you're not using a ton of battery. So this should be interesting. I can't wait to see how this impacts battery life when it comes to actually using the phone, but it should intelligently pick the right refresh rate depending on how you're using the phone. Now we gotta address the elephant in the room. The S22 Ultra has the S Pen. So the S Pen from the Note lineup has made it onto the highest model of the S22 lineup. Goodbye Note. The Note is now the Ultra. So if you want like the most premium experience that Samsung has to offer, it looks like the Ultra is going to be that phone. This should have happened a long time ago, where the S22 Ultra just had the best of everything. And I think now we're moving to that place where that's where you get the full Samsung experience. And they've done some improvements to the S Pen where it now has even lower latencies. I'm not gonna lie, the S Pen does add a lot of functionality, and with that much bigger display, you can definitely take advantage of it. But I wanna see how folks who never opted for the Note and just went with like the Ultra, how they feel about this upgrade. If that's you, let me know with a comment down below. Now, of course, we gotta talk about those cameras, and that's what Samsung's really banking on this year, I feel like. The cameras are gonna be their bread and butter. That's gonna be like the biggest selling point because they've done some improvements here. But first, let's talk about the cameras that are on these phones. Now, when it comes to the regular S22s, we've got a 50 megapixel wide angle lens, a 12 megapixel ultra wide angle lens, and a 10 megapixel telephoto lens with a 3x optical zoom. Now with the S22 Ultra, you get a bit more since that's the cream of the crop phone, right? So you get a 108 megapixel wide angle lens, a 10 megapixel telephoto lens, two actually, one with a 3x optical zoom and another with a 10x optical zoom. And I believe you also have access to that space zoom feature here where you can zoom into the stars. It's insane, we all know this. And you get that 12 megapixel ultra wide angle lens as well. Now, what Samsung really has been trying to do here with these cameras is improve the low light photography. So if you're taking photos at night or in situations where lighting is not the best, Samsung says we should be seeing increased quality here with sharper photos with less noise. That is like the big thing that they've been really talking about. So of course, that's something we gotta see in the real world. I tend to take a lot of pictures indoors, where of course lighting isn't always going to be as great as outside. So I'm very curious to see how that is going to perform, but I am happy to hear that that's something that they really focused on. And they've also added a couple of cool features on the video side of things, like auto framing. So if you're taking a video of something, the phone will detect a face, kind of zoom in and frame up for you automatically. But if someone else comes in within like 5 meters, it can detect their face and basically adjust the screen or the frame so that it can have both people in. And it can do this with up to 10 people. So if more people are getting into the frame, it'll adjust automatically so it can get the right amount of people in the shot. So if you're not someone who's like great at video and you don't want to, physically move back and all that good stuff, it should be able to do it for you. We've been seeing features like this introduced with Center Stage, something we've seen on the iPad, or I think even the iMacs have that feature as well. Even the Google camera has like that smart zoom feature. There's a lot, it's not a new feature, but it's the first time I think we're seeing it implemented for video recording on a smartphone. So I'm definitely interested in trying that out, especially if you have your camera set up and propped on like a tripod or something, and you just have a bunch of people coming in and out the shot. I'm curious how it behaves. Could be really cool, but we gotta see it in person. Now, one thing we're also seeing is 8K across the board for the entire lineup. We've seen 8K on phones before. It's never been a viable option because it just wasn't that good. But this is 2022. These are, oh shoot, that's 22. Wait, did it just occur to me that the year matches up with the phone? S22 is coming out in 22 to 21. They did this since 2020. Judd's a little slow. Either way, it's 2022 with that new Snapdragon chip. I'm sure that the 8K should be a lot better. Of course, we'll try it out and see. But let's not ignore the 40 megapixel front-facing camera on the entire lineup. So that's an upgrade to the 21 and 21 Plus. Now it's across the board, which is going to be a nice jump. And one thing to note here, while a lot of these megapixels might match some of what we saw last year, They're all new sensors, so there should be some improvement across the entire board. We'll of course just have to get it in hand and test that out ourselves. So that's pretty much our rundown of the phones, but there were a couple of other features that I thought were pretty cool that they mentioned. If you want to customize the UI and the look of the phone, you're gonna be able to do that. It's something we've seen on Android already, where it can look at the wallpaper and give you the accent color across the entire thing. But one thing I like about One UI 4 is you're gonna be able to basically share your look across devices. So if you have like the Galaxy Tab or you have another Galaxy device, you're gonna be able to have like a similar look across the entire thing. So if you customize one to look a certain way, you can have the same vibe everywhere else. I like that when it comes to an ecosystem where you get that same feeling everywhere you go. I am very interested in the newly announced Galaxy Tab 8, so I want to get my hands on that, kind of see how they all work together. We usually don't cover the tablets, Jay, but the Tab 8 is looking pretty good, man. I feel like we gotta try it. It's 2022. Android, we gotta give Android tablets a try again. Another cool feature is that it seems like Samsung is paying more attention to privacy, which I'm always happy about. They do have this nice feature where it basically allows you to know when a device is using the camera. You get this like green little LED notification. It's not really an LED, but if you get like this green little notification in the top right corner, that lets you know that the camera is being used. You can actually go into your settings and set which apps can use what sensitive information you have available, like your camera, your mic, that kind of stuff. But those are just a few things that caught my attention. Hopefully you guys got a good idea of what these new phones are bringing to the table. Which one catches your interest the most? I really like the normal S22 look, but the Ultra has the S Pen and all the beautiful camera upgrades. But either way, can't wait to get the new lineup out. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, be the cool guy or girl that gives this video a thumbs up. Thumbs down doesn't mean anything these days. So I'll catch you guys in the next one. Till then, it's your average consumer. Peace. I hope we get the green ones, Jay.
Teal.
Teal. Call it teal. I love it.